everyone, I hope you're keeping well. So this video is on the new moon in Pisces on March 18th, 2026. And this coincides in less than 48 hours apart, like I think it's 36 hours together, as we prep and step into the spring equinox and Aries season. So why is this important? Because this is our last new moon of the astrological year. So this is our last new moon before we step into Aries season and the beginning of the astrological new year. To me, based on our New Year's that we celebrate in January, it makes no sense that we do this, that we're setting resolutions in the dead of winter when there's no sun to shine vitality into anything. That was a time of reflection. That was our closing up things. That's our kind of hunkering down, trying to finish projects, restructure things, and come to have some ideas of innovation but not step into them yet, because that's an Aries thing. That's Aries putting his foot on the baby, on taking its first steps, right? So new moons are planting seeds. What do you want to plant to grow right now? And as we step into that, this is in Pisces, this new moon. And Pisces is a very karmic, very intuitive, very empathic. It's the dissolving and fluidity, if that's a word, in life. So when we have that, we're very intuitive. We want to really think of our spiritual intentions, right? We have the sun, the moon, we have Mercury in retrograde, and Mars all sitting in Pisces, which will heighten our intuitive side, bringing some insights, some new intentions, so that new moon seed. And Mars being in Pisces is asking us to reflect before stepping boldly into action, because Mars is that energy action and get going. But when it's in Pisces, it's asking us to kind of really, like, we're doing things that are emotionally driven, and we're taking our time to process that. It's more of a fluid instead of a kung fu kick. It's maybe like swimming. So, and then when we have Mercury that's in retrograde, Mercury in retrograde in Pisces is asking us, rather than using our analytical mind, use that gut soul, how you feel, and make your decisions, your thoughts, based on that rather than this, because this might give logic, but it might not be based on your inner truth. So we're walking into that inner truth, right? So we may need, at this time, having all this Pisces stellium, a cluster of planets sitting in one house, or in one sign rather, we might feel the need to feel like a little bit sleepy, maybe a little bit daydreamy, or just don't have the stamina. Maybe we're bogged down by the emotions of our thoughts, right? Or you might have one heck of a super active dream state like me lately, where all these dreams are just wild, going crazy. And so maybe the movement, Mars energy, is more so in that Piscean dreamy state, in your sleep, in your rest state, right? We might have we will have a heightened sense of spiritual motivation too. Perhaps your drive and energy feels a little bit drowned out, like you have energy but yet right? So this is the time to get rest now, before we step into that Aries season, because that is going to be go. Like springing forward, stepping ahead. We're stepping into spring, so just get ready, because by April, we're gonna have a lot of Aries. Well, we're gonna have an Aries stellium. We're gonna have a lot of planets in that, and it's going to be a lot all at once. So if you have the time, I highly encourage you to take opportunity for having that rest and that inner reflection. Do that now, so you can hop on the wagon or the pony, the fire pony, right? So just take caution, though, that we're not drowning out in a pool of our emotions. This is some of the negative aspects when we have Pisces. We can have victimhood. We can want to escape, the sense of escapism through substance or end of life. A lot of this video is going to reflect on kind of that full moon, except this is more the new moon energy. But a lot of that energy does stay. So we're having that retrograde Mercury retrograde in Pisces for a couple more days here. By Friday, it should station direct. So before it does that, this is just encouraging us. Listen to that inner gut feeling. You know, let's not try and dissect this analytically and understand why this. It's no, this is how I feel, and this is what I'm going with because this feels right. Because what hasn't you will know what hasn't worked this past year, and that deep gut knowing to prep yourself for this New Year's resolution that we're moving forward into, right? So this 28-degree mark, which this moon is, I don't know if I told you that earlier, but it's at 28 degrees. So this is like a wrap-up energy. This is a deep level of closings, of karmic endings. So we have a heavy influence also of Saturn, Neptune, and Venus in Aries at this time right now. So Aries is the initiator. They are brave. They step into the world. Their motto is, I am. This is like the time to decide what structures you want or what will work. And that honors your spiritual side and what makes you feel comfortable and safe and at peace. How will you like to start fresh or becoming? Right now, I would encourage you to have a lot of rest and maybe do bathing in water, grounding, meditation, or journaling. These are Pisces things that can support as we hop into this Aries energy. So this can be extremely overwhelming time, and overstimulation, like especially with our nervous system, our mental health side of things. So let's just really caution and take care in grounding, bathing in water or meditation, anything like swimming in water, aquasize, things like that can help shift that energy. Music is a beautiful thing too. So now that Aries season is very near, just within a couple days here, or a few days, this is like the baby of the zodiac. He's putting his first feet on the ground and taking his first steps. So I would almost ask you to think, like, what advice would you give yourself when you were a child? Or how would you protect or guide that child into the world? How do you protect but also allow them to have their first steps? So that seed that you're planting that you want to initiate, this is that time of, okay, the baby's going to take its first steps, but, would we have them walking around a bonfire during their first steps? No. So this is where you're kind of starting to use that gut, not necessarily critical, but that gut of what is right, what is safe, what makes sense, but also prepping for there's going to be big steps coming in. So what are you going to do about that, right? I'm just double checking where I'm at here. So yeah, so also with Aries, their whole motto is I am. So this is a time to decide what structures do you want, what will work, what honors your spiritual side and makes you feel comfortable and safe and at peace. How would you like to start fresh or becoming? Right now, I encourage that rest, grounding, journaling, all that stuff. Sorry, I just realized I repeated myself because my brain was going in another way there. But so what patterns do we want to break? That's where I was coming back to. So with these baby steps, and like if you were to tell your younger self, hey, don't do it this way because this happened, but you want to encourage this movement, it's like, okay, what patterns do you want to break? Or old identities do you want to drop? And tell yourself that. And these are the steps that now you're going to feel safe and confident, brave to step in. And, how can you help that little self, that inner self? I don't necessarily want to say this is inner child work, but this is that karmic piece of Pisces is prompting you, okay, so how are we going to wrap certain things up, reflect, and take the structures of what we want to move forward with and what we don't, and kind of safeguard them. You're not in action time just yet, but you're in the planning, right? The excitement and anticipation. So we have also a Uranus-Neptune sextile right now. So Uranus is unexpected, but they're innovative, they're futuristic. Neptune's is dreams, illusion, mental health, karmic, spirituality. So and illusions, we can watch in the year to come, I'm willing to say, new developments that will almost recognize our energetic bodies, and the importance of electric vibrations on healing, because like we have that Neptunian vibe with the Uranus, so it's like electrical and vibrational, almost water particles, almost plasma like, if anyone has went down those little paths of doing some stuff like that. So I think the importance of sound healing and wavelengths, will find new innovations in healing. I'm almost willing to bet money on that for this upcoming year. We'll see a huge innovation and shift, probably likely a lot more by July, but I think we're going to start to really understand and almost new sudden discoveries in our spiritual beings, and almost like a spiking shift in our belief systems or spirituality, or a new belief system. I think that when you have Uranus there, it's like explosive, shocking change, and you have Neptune, which is a spiritual kind of never-ending, dissolving, and like we're all connected. So I think that there might be some new cool things of healing through energy, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Science that once deemed theories impossible might suddenly have new discoveries. So I think in science we're going to see cool things when it comes to science and the human psyche, and healing through psychedelics. I think that's a huge thing for mental health. So let's just watch. I think water is going to be praised. I think we're really going to recognize the strength and healing, and almost appreciation for water. So we also have that sun and moon conjunct in Saturn. So pay attention to our seas. I think we're going to see a lot of things, shakeups with our seas, and we may even feel issues concerning water, floods, the need and demand for water or control of water. So, ask yourself, how do you have access to water? How do you, do we have access? Do we know how to safeguard our water? Do we understand that we are a high percentage of our human body is water? Do you understand that? So right now, we have most planets in water and fire. This creates steam, right? So this is also like, can be our water, our emotions taking over, our ability to have energy, to take charge, and to drown out or our motivation, right? So steam, when it has the ability to make power, but it also has the ability to combust, right? So we can have like steam engines or explosions, right? So just on an energetic level, I guess what I'm saying is just be mindful that our emotions are not, we're not overly saturated in them, where it's almost drowning out our physical self to have energy. So let's also hope that this is an explosion in world, like on war-like stage. Let's hope we're not progressing more in that. With Uranus, it's also the only, like one of the only planets right now in this lineup that's in an Earth sign in Taurus. So when we have that, that speaks of unpredictability in Earth. So earthquakes, shakes, quakes, and resources. So we could see like a demand or a sparse of resources, maybe because of shakeups, because of earthquakes or landslides, things that are causing uncertainty with land and resources, and that put stress and demands on resources. So I think that that is something interesting to take into consideration, of having our maybe food goods having like could be unpredictable to have, and it's important to have things on hand like that. On another note, we have Jupiter in Cancer, another water sign. And this is kind of beautiful in a few ways, and some cool things came to me on this one. So this calls for discovering and expanding on what nourishes you, because Jupiter is expansive energy. It grows. And like Cancer is a sign of what nourishes you and makes you feel safe and secure. So Cancer is a sign of home, security, nourishment, nourishing the ones that you love. Like they're like the more of eat, come eat, we have food. It's an emotional and empathetic sign. This is a beautiful thing, and to me, this yells family meals, family time, or meal prepping with friends. or sharing recipes, family handing down like those like hearty recipes that maybe your grandma or your baba, had their family things, like really almost investing in that, and or creating like a local food co-op. Now this kind of sounds probably to some like I'm talking about a Taurus energy about food, but Cancer is that ooey gooey stomach, breast tissue area, like what makes them feel safe and secure. So I'd caution those though during this time of also eating too much, finding those nourishing things to deal with your feelings and your emotions. But I think nourishing your soul and almost finding a soul tribe, right? Sharing co-op, like of, hey, I have potatoes, or I can sew that jacket for you, and swapping things like that. Or I'm finally building that kitchen island so I can serve all the food to my loved ones in this beautiful kitchen, like, because that's home, right? And Cancers like to cook or have that food for all their family. This also yells, are your beliefs ones that make you feel safe? So our thoughts, our belief systems, do they nourish your inner soul, your inner being? Are they ones that limit? So we might be challenged on expanding or seeking things that and belief systems that help us feel safe and nourished. On another side of thing, Cancer rules like precious metals, like silver. So Jupiter expands. So this might be a great time for those. And I am not in any form of financials, but this does speak kind of expansion of precious metals. It might be more of a demand on it, or the cost going up, or even there's such a demand that there's not enough, right, of that. So, but it could be favorable for silver specifically. I'm also being called that to Jupiter in Cancer. I feel like this is kind of the need to grow your own food, and hydroponics yelled out to me because this is growing food in water, but also or food that has water, like cucumbers, melons, or milky wholesome things like a coconut, or things with calcium, right? Certain grains like milky grains, or lettuce that you can snap at the leaf and you see the milk. So things that are kind of rich and wholesome in those ways to support also digestive, because with our Cancerians, that's real stomach and breast tissue. So I also felt very prompt to say, things that are nourishing the gut, not widening the gut, but nourishing the gut. So maybe growing things if we are dealing with this Uranus and Taurus upheaval. So Jupiter, maybe we need to expand a little bit on the things that we have control of, specifically in our home territory, that you can have at your own hands, right? So to summarize, let's summarize this. To summarize, let's dream boldly. What are you passionate about? How can we be more disciplined or build this new dream into a reality that will be here for the long term? Because we're starting the new year. So let's make this last, right? Let's build through those steps for this next 12 months. So how do we create it? Because creation is coming once we step into Aries season, which is just down the road here in a few days. We'll start being able to make those steps. So let's generate this, put this into fruition, plant that seed so it can grow, and make sure you're shedding that crap that you don't need to bring with you when you're growing something else, right? And be prepared for that Aries energy. It's going to be fast. So let's find that balance now so we have the right footing to step into something around the corner. So rest up. And I also want to say, remember, we are in that Chinese fire horse. Remember back in February when we had that solar eclipse? That happened to be the Chinese New Year. So on their zodiac, running with that fire horse. So this is a lot of fire energy. This is also in numerology the year, like year one. And so this is new beginnings, new starts. And I'm just going to pull my other note from my notepad here. This is, let's see, where do I have this? So we are having Saturn. This is an interesting fact for anyone who wants to still hang in. So Saturn Neptune conjunct at 0 degrees of Aries is like initiating, and this is like a huge transformation. This is very much new creation, new beginnings. The last time this happened was like over 6,000, well, let's see, 6,000 years? Was 1702. And when you look at 1702, there was like collapse, like issues with monarchies, like royals. It was like a shake up and shift of collective mind of humanity. Like humanity made some big steps. There was like revolutions and new beginnings. So I think we're in that energy as a collective. Now what this means for you individually, that's up to you, but collectively the world is shifting into a whole new set of energy that I think will be like documented for years to come. So lastly, I'm going to pull a card out of the Sacred Sea Oracle here, and this is based on Pisces energy. So we're going to pull a card to see what it is that we need to know as we are dealing with this new moon and stepping into Aries season, but this Pisces stellium energy and this Aries stellium that's to come. As a collective, what do we need to know? Split the deck here. Sea Goddess of Momentum, consistent communication. Check that out. And you know what? Something that yells to me, I don't know, like it looks like almost books on the head or arrows. This is a lot of green energy. So this is almost like self-talk. I get a lot of self-talk here. So what are you self-talking? And I think that ties in beautifully when we look at Pisces energy, because, you know, we can really be stuck in our own head, well, or just like emotions, I should say. And let's really make sure we're removing that negative, like I look at this pressure on the head, that negative thought stream. And this is number 28. So this rounds off into number 10. So this is like wrapping up for sure of something. I'm going to pull out of the book here. So I will keep moving forward day by day, moment by moment, and action by action. And in order to accomplish my dreams and make them a reality, I will take impeccable care of my mind, my body, so I can continue to do what I love and create a life I love living. So sacred meanings, so devoted actions, keep forward, moving forward, steadfast focus, take good care on your mind and your body, take small actions that add up to your dreams, stay fueled, remain inspired, and don't quit. You were meant for this. How cool is that? So I hope you guys have an awesome new moon in Pisces, and I will talk to you guys here. I'm hoping to do more live readings here in the probably in the next couple weeks. All right, take care. Bye for now.